Hey guys, what's up? It's Savannah. Welcome back to my channel, and today we are back with another true crime video. This video has been highly requested by you guys. I see it all the time in my comments when I do these types of videos. So today I decided to finally sit down, cover the case. This is a very popular case as far as media coverage, and YouTubers have covered it and things like that. And the thing about it is that I always knew about the case, but I never dove in and really got all the information about it. So that is why I wanted to cover this case on my channel as well. So as you can tell by the title of today's video, we are talking about the kidnappings of Michelle Knight, Gina De Jesus, and Amanda Berry. These three girls were all kidnapped and held hostage by a man named Ariel Castro in his house in Cleveland. This is the case we're going to be covering today. If you're not subscribed already, make sure you just go ahead and hit that button right down there, give this video a thumbs up, and let me know in the comments what other true crime videos you would like me to do, and let's just jump into this case. So I had watched a couple videos about this case in general, and none of them really went into detail about Ariel Castro, which was fine because he really doesn't deserve a second of anyone's time. I decided to do some research on him just so I got a little bit of a better understanding about who this guy was, so that's where we're gonna start. Ariel Castro was born on July 11th of 1960 in Puerto Rico. Growing up, his parents divorced when he was a young child, and shortly after that, his mother, and his three siblings moved to the United States. At first, the four of them moved to Pennsylvania, but then they all decided to go and transfer down to Cleveland because that's where their father was, and they had some other extended relatives that also lived there. He had graduated from Lincoln West High School. He also had a girlfriend named Gramilda Figueroa, if I'm saying that correctly. If not, I'm sorry. And in 1992, the two of them moved into their very own house together on Seymour Avenue, and that address is going to be very important, so keep that in mind. According to Gramilda's sisters and her family, they had a pretty steady relationship up until they moved in together. Her sister says when they moved in together, that is when the hell started for her sister. Ariel was extremely abusive. He would throw her down flights of stairs. She cracked her skull, several broken noses, several black eyes. He broke her ribs, her arms, everything. He actually was arrested in 1993 for domestic violence, but he never got indicted by a jury, so it never really went anywhere. And in 1996, Gramilda moved out of their house that they lived in together, and she took custody of their four children. And what's crazy is even after she moved out, Ariel Castro still threatened and tried to attack her. Gramilda accused him of trying to kidnap their daughters and things like that, but police never pursued charges against him. The only thing that happened was that she tried to file for a temporary restraining order, but that just fell through the cracks. It didn't work out. So he just had full access to her, which is just a terrifying situation considering the toxicity of their relationship. Ariel worked as a bus driver for school children. He drove for the Cleveland Metropolitan School District, but he ended up being fired for bad judgment. He would just be very irresponsible. He would make illegal turns when kids were in the car, use the bus for his personal use, go home using the bus and just take a nap and get back in. He was just very irresponsible. So that is the sum up of Ariel Castro. I don't want to really talk about him as a person anymore because to me he's a monster. So now we're going to talk about Michelle Knight. Michelle was born on April 23rd of 1981. She grew up wanting to be a veterinarian. She did have a very rough childhood. She had gone through a lot of poverty and abuse all in her teenage and early years. She was 4'7", so she really struggled at school. The kids would call her Shorty and they would just go after her. She was their main target. They would attack her and just do horrible, awful things. At the time of her disappearance, however, she did have a 2-year-old son. His name was Joey, and he was the light of Michelle's life. Michelle loved Joey. Unfortunately, though, there was a situation with an extended family member where Joey ended up injuring himself and getting hurt. So CPS, Child Protective Services, was called and actually ended up taking Joey away, which crushed Michelle. Once CPS came and took away Joey, Michelle's only mission was to get her son back. She had a caseworker. She was working really hard trying to do whatever she could to get him back. And on August 23rd of 2002, Michelle was leaving her cousin's house and she was walking on the street when a man had pulled up right next to her asking if she wanted a ride home. This man was Ariel Castro. And Michelle didn't just get into a stranger's car. Michelle had actually known Ariel's daughter. She was familiar with Ariel's daughter, so she didn't think it was that out of the blue, that random and that weird. She had known who this guy was. She decided, yeah, like, okay, I'll get in the car. She gets in the car. Ariel tells her that he has puppies at his house, and if she wanted to go back to his house and take a puppy for her son. Michelle said yes, she was all about it, and so she and Ariel went back to his house on Seymour Avenue. They got into the house and he said that the puppies were in the upstairs bedroom, so she led the way and he followed right behind her. She went into the room and he closed the door behind her, and this was the beginning of Michelle's living hell for the next 11 years. Repeatedly, every single day, Michelle was beaten, abused, she was raped constantly. Michelle actually had a total of about 5 pregnancies from Ariel Castro, and he had beaten her every single time he found out she was pregnant, so that she had actually miscarried every single time. She was chained up to a wall. She had barely any room on this chain, about 5.5 feet, and that was her world. Like, that was the world she lived in. The one thing that kept her going though was her son, and hoping that one day she would be able to reunite with her son again. That was her saving grace in all of this. So a little less than a year after Michelle was taken, on April 21st of 2003, Amanda Berry worked at a local Burger King in her town in Cleveland. She had just gotten off of her shift. She was walking home to her house. Her birthday was the next day, and the crazy thing is she was so close to calling in for this work shift that she had just completed the day that she went missing, because it was her birthday the next day. So she almost called in because she was gonna have a celebration with her family, and when she was leaving work, that's when she was walking home to go see her family because they had this birthday celebration for her, and she had never made it home because literally on almost the exact same street, if not the exact same street that Michelle was taken, while Amanda was walking home on that same street, Ariel Castro pulled up to where Amanda was, and similarly enough, Amanda had known one of his daughters. He asked her if she would like a ride back to her house. She didn't think it was the craziest thing in the world because, like I said, she knew one of his daughters, so she got into the car and they drove back. And on the way to what she thought was her own house, Ariel had asked Amanda if she would like to go back to his place because his daughter was home and they hadn't seen each other in a while, and so he asked if Amanda would want to hang out with his daughter. And Amanda thought, I hadn't seen her in a while, why not just go hang out with her for a little bit? I'm off work, my birthday's tomorrow, it might be fun. She told Ariel sure, she agreed, and so they drove to Ariel's house. So when they first got there, the bathroom door was shut and there was like some running water or something like that, and Ariel said, oh, she must just be taking a shower, taking a bath, something like that. But before Amanda could even say anything, Ariel pushed her into a closet and raped her. And after he did that, he put her into another room and chained her to a wall similarly to Michelle. He had chained her, like Michelle, to a 5-foot chain. He taped her ankles together. He would put a helmet over her head. And in the beginning of Amanda being held hostage, she thought she was the only girl because Ariel kept telling her, I will take you home when I find another girl. Once I find another girl, I will let you go home. Everything will be okay. I'm just waiting for another girl. So in Amanda's mind, she was the only one in this house. She realized that she was completely wrong about that one day when she saw Michelle Knight in another room. So now fast forward almost another year after Amanda was taken, on April 2nd of 2004, Ariel decided that he needed another girl, so he was driving along the street and saw Gina De Jesus on the phone. She was with her friend, she wanted to have a sleepover, and one of the parents said no, so the girls ended up going their separate ways, walking home alone. And Gina De Jesus was, I believe, 15 at the time of her abduction, was again taken by Ariel Castro, 5 blocks from where Amanda and Michelle were taken, and in practically the very same fashion. He took her, he brought her back to the same house that Amanda and Michelle were at, and now there were 3 girls in the house together, constantly being raped, abused. Every possible horrible thing you can imagine is what these girls endured on a daily basis. And what's crazy is no one heard a thing. I'm gonna get into more of their living situation in a second, but I just want you to know, like, it's just so insane to me. The girls actually ended up watching their own America's Most Wanted case on TV. They were allowed to watch TV occasionally in the house, and so they ended up watching their own America's Most Wanted case on TV. It was heartbreaking because people were constantly looking for Michelle and Amanda. Their names were constantly in the news, as they should be, like, no doubt as they should be. But people left out Michelle 100%. Michelle faded away. The police and all the detectives working on the case definitely thought that there was a similarity between all 3 girls that went missing. But Michelle's case kind of fell to the back burner. It kind of just faded away because her family actually, a year after her disappearance, took her off the missing persons list because in their mind, their theory was that she was so upset about her son being taken away from her that she decided to run away and start a new life and that's why she disappeared. So they took her off the missing persons list, which automatically just kind of made her fade away from the media, made her case not as important just because people didn't know about her. Amanda was watching TV one day. She had this favorite show, and it was like this sidekick who would read people in the audience and things like that, and she would watch it occasionally, and she always hoped that her mom would go on there and ask about her. And one day her mom actually did go on there and asked about Amanda, and the psychic told Amanda's mom that Amanda had passed away and that she was dead, which Amanda, watching that, literally like her heart sunk, because in her hope the psychic would maybe lead to a clue that her mom could take on, because her mom was constantly fighting to bring Amanda home and constantly trying to fight to see where she was and to find her. But unfortunately, while Amanda was in captivity, her mom actually ended up passing away. Amanda and Ariel Castro's relationship was different than with the other two. I watched an interview with Amanda, and when she found out her mom passed away, she was obviously so upset, and she was sitting down with Ariel Castro, and they were just having a conversation, like a just normal conversation, and I say normal very loosely. She kept telling him, I don't know what to do. She was very upset. She was crying, and Ariel was actually trying to console her. He was telling her that it was gonna be okay, that she was gonna get through it. She actually asked him for a hug, and he gave it to her. And the interviewer, I remember, was just like, were you not like kind of in a state of what am I doing? Like, I'm hugging the person who's been raping me and keeping me in captivity for all of these years. And she said, yes, like that kind of was going through my mind, but also like she said, I really needed it. So Ariel had a very different relationship with Amanda, and that becomes even more true when Amanda was 20 years old. She found out she was pregnant. Amanda was thrilled. She thought it was a gift from her mother. She was so happy and excited. It was her one like light of hope in this whole situation. And unlike Michelle, who had about 5 miscarriages, Ariel actually let her keep the baby, and she had the baby in captivity in Ariel's bathtub. Michelle helped deliver the baby. Obviously, Ariel didn't take them to a hospital for obvious reasons. He would have gotten caught immediately. Her daughter was born into captivity, so she was not allowed to go to school. She was stuck in the house all day, every day, and Amanda took complete advantage and decided to homeschool her daughter and teach her everything that she could. She had an alphabet poster on the wall. She was teaching Jocelyn how to read, how to write, and trying to keep her up with where she would be if she was in an actual school as far as education goes. So obviously, as Jocelyn was growing up, she was seeing her mom in chains, because at this point they were all still chained up. None of them were unchained. They were still all in chains in this house. And obviously, as Jocelyn's growing up, she's seeing her mother in chains, so she would ask Ariel, why is she in chains? Why is mom in chains? Ariel decided he didn't really know what to say, and so he decided that he was going to let Amanda out of her chains. And as Jocelyn grew older, little kids want to go outside. They want to explore. It's a normal thing for them. They want to do that. And so it became hard when Ariel could only keep Jocelyn inside. So occasionally he would let her go outside, go out and play with her. And that's where the struggle really set in, because Ariel loved his daughter. Like, there was no doubt about that. He really loved Jocelyn. He cared about Jocelyn, and he was starting to feel the struggle of not being able to keep this secret in anymore, because there's a child now, and this child is going to grow up. So before we move on to how they escaped and all that, I want to kind of cover their living conditions, because I think it's important to note how gruesome and horrific and terrifying their lives were on a daily basis. So all 3 of the girls were fed one meal once a day. They were allowed to shower about 2 times a week. Other than that, they were chained up. Their hands were tied, their feet were tied. They were kept in these rooms. I read this story when it was just Michelle. Ariel had a dog. And when Ariel was attacking Michelle and raping her, the dog tried to protect Michelle and actually bit Ariel. And this is terrible and very graphic, and I'm sorry, but Ariel had actually snapped the dog's neck and killed it. Michelle Knight actually had to have reconstruction surgery when she was freed, because her face was so damaged from all the beatings that she endured while in captivity. Ariel Castro would actually have people over at his house for barbecues and gatherings and get-together, and he would organize the house so that the staircase, he would put a speaker on the staircase and blare music. He would put chairs and tables all along the staircase so it would block people from going upstairs, because obviously he had 3 girls held hostage hostage upstairs. And no one knew a thing. No one knew anything. Michelle said that he kind of reorganized the house so that no one would be able to escape. He put alarms on all the doors and the windows so if anything opened, he would hear it. Everything had changed on May 6th of 2013. Amanda was with her daughter Jocelyn, and Jocelyn had actually asked Amanda, like, where's dad? Like, dad's car is not in the driveway. And she had looked and realized Ariel was gone. And Ariel had been gone before, but there was something in Amanda that just kind of went into fight or flight survivor mode, and she decided, like, this is it. Either I go now or I don't go at all. And so she decided to make a run for it before she got back. The other two girls, Gina and Michelle, were too nervous and too afraid to get caught to leave with her. Amanda grabbed Jocelyn and she decided this is when it was all going to change. So she tried to open the door, but Ariel had put locks not just on the front door but in all the house. The locks were on the front of the door. So if you're in a room, you can't lock or unlock the door. The only lock is on the front of the door before you go in the room. For the front door, that was no exception. It was locked oddly, so she couldn't open it up, and she finally opened a screen and started banging and screaming on this door because she couldn't get out. Luckily enough, there was a man walking down the street just chilling, eating some McDonald's, who had heard this screaming from this house. He went up to the house on the porch and was like, what is going on? He had heard Amanda say, like, my name's Amanda Berry. I've been trapped in here for a long time. Like, please let me out. So the two of them had to actually break this door down because it was locked and secured in such a strict way. So they both ended up kicking the door down. She told the man who helped her escape to call 911. Her name's Amanda Berry. And mind you, that name had been running and circulating through the news for years. This is now about 10 years. So this name was not uncommon. And the man said it didn't really click to him who this girl was until he was on the phone with 911 saying, I'm calling about Amanda Berry. And then it kind of hit him like, oh my gosh, it's Amanda Berry. She ends up calling the police, telling them who Ariel Castro was, what house they were at, who else was in there, and she was like, please hurry and come before he gets home. Police immediately arrive on the scene. They go in and they rescue Michelle and Gina, bring them out of the house. They end up arresting Ariel Castro. I watched the interview that this man who helped Amanda escape, and he was in complete shock because he knew Ariel Castro. This was his neighbor. He said that he had been over to his house before, they've hung out before, they've done barbecues before, and he didn't know a single thing. So he was just in complete shock. And just to give you a timeline, Gina had been held in captivity for 9 years, Amanda had been held in captivity for about 10 years, and Michelle had been held for 11 years. So obviously Ariel Castro was arrested, and in court he said that he was not a monster. He said that he was sick, he had an addiction, he had a sex addiction, and that was blamed for his childhood growing up. Ariel Castro was charged with 500 counts of kidnapping, 446 counts of rape, 3 counts of child endangerment, 2 counts of aggravated murder, and 2 counts of possession of a criminal weapon. Ariel Castro was sentenced to life in prison plus 1,000 years, so he was never getting out. However, on September 3rd of 2015, he was found hanging in his jail cell by bed sheets. So he had committed suicide. That made a lot of people really angry because they felt like he took the easy way out. He didn't have to suffer, not nearly as much as those girls ever had suffered, but just even a little bit. After they had escaped, everyone was so supportive of all 3 girls. They helped them. They had all helped raise money to help them kind of get back on their feet and start a new life and things like that. So since her escape, Michelle Knight has changed her name to Lily Rose Lee, and on May 6, 2016, she married a man named Miguel Rodriguez, and she has continued to live her life as a strong survivor. Amanda Berry now is helping find missing children herself. When her daughter Jocelyn enrolled in school, she had actually been leveled at a grade above of her class because Amanda had taught her so well. Gina is extremely close with her family, and she also works on helping bringing missing children home. None of the girls really keep in close contact with each other anymore. There was a lot of animosity in the house. Ariel was extremely manipulative and tried to turn all the girls against each other using jealousy tactics and things like that. Michelle was kind of the outsider of the house, and Amanda and Gina were more close. Amanda and Gina say that they speak occasionally, but all 3 of them are trying to put the past behind them and just move forward with their lives. That is all I have for you guys. I hope it all made sense. I'm really glad that this story, even though it was horrific for these girls to endure all of that, ends in a happy ending. Alright you guys, that was the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're new to my channel, hi, my name's Savannah. I make videos 3 days a week, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. You should subscribe, join the family. As always, all my links are going to be at the end of this video and in the description box below. Love you guys so much, and I'll be back in a couple days with a brand new video. Bye guys.